meeting to order. Gentlemen, I'd like to call the meeting to order, please. Thank you all for coming.
There's a signed seat.
Feel free to, if you would like to sit, somewhere else, you can as well. We will go ahead and call roll. We have Commissioner Buckholz.
Here.
We have Commissioner O'Reilly. Vice Chair Lee did inform us that he will be late, but he is absent at the moment. Chair Cohen. And Commissioner Nagel. So we do have a quorum of 4 commissioners to start the meeting.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for coming today. And welcome Lynette and Chris. Time for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any public comments today not on the agenda?
So at the moment, we did not receive anything ahead of time. And we do not currently have anyone in attendance here physically or on the attendee side online. So I will update the commission should that change. But I do not see any hands raised here. So I believe we are okay to move forward with no public comment.
Okay, first order of business, or not the first, but we're up to the minutes now. Did everybody see the minutes? Any comments? Can I have a motion to approve, please? Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay. The second item under items for consideration, the topic is age-friendly focus groups. And we want to discuss stakeholders to include in the focus groups and how they will be recruited.
The only additional information I wanted to share is that I did reach out to Annabelle because I believe there was a question from the last meeting asking whether we could include experts that may be outside of Los Altos. Annabelle said that it is absolutely okay to include those individuals, but obviously the focus of the discussion should be centered around Los Altos. So we can include experts that are outside, but making sure that obviously when that conversation is had, that they know that it's the Los Altos community that is being discussed. So Annabelle did clarify that.
Hey, Bill, do you want to be in this discussion? You had some ideas?
There's 2 things that I'm thinking about. One is, who are the people whose needs must be considered? And there can be issues about, well, what about the needs of people in assisted living? Certainly there's population in retirement dwelling, and they would have a different address than their own house, but they certainly would be people to include in petitioning their ideas. I am interested in the companies and the people who provide care to seniors. And so I don't know that they're a stakeholder, though they will certainly be influenced by what we do. I don't think that we have to consider that we must serve them in some fashion, but working with them seems prudent. So it's a kind of a asterisk stakeholder.
I want to clarify a point. When we talk about stakeholders, to me, that's not the people that are going to be in the focus group. The stakeholders are the leaders that we're going to consult in order to pick out people in the different focus groups. Is that not true? How do you see it?
So it could be a combination. So the terminology that Annabelle was referencing, so it could be a little bit of both, but I believe when Annabelle was referencing, I think she is trying to get a grouping or a list of who should be invited to the focus groups. And I think the other piece of information is that they are anticipating at least 3 focus groups to be held over the course of time. And then within each focus group, the group is roughly about 10 individuals. So we're talking about 30 that should be representative of the different groups that we would want to get feedback from. So it could be a little bit of both, where, you know, maybe there is a group of individuals that you think we might want to get feedback, then who would be the best representative to be physically in the focus group. So it probably could be a little bit, but I think in this reference point, they're wanting a list of who should be invited.
Jamie, these stakeholders, would they be people who would be running the meeting or just participating?
Participating. Yes. Because it will be Cafe and their staff that will actually leading. And then the other part is obviously the senior commission. And once we get to that point, once they've been scheduled, senior commissioners would be in attendance to kind of listen in on the discussion and conversation, take notes to help supplement what Cafe is leading. But it is, the hope is to have a robust list so that Cafe and also to staff would know who to reach out to, which is why that's part of the conversation is what does that outreach look like? How do we let people know that we want them to be included in the process?
So it's up to us to make suggestions, not to do the outreach.
Correct.
Do we have any idea when they would like to establish these?
So this, as far as the timeline goes, again, the focus groups would be after the survey, the AARP survey. And so this probably would not be anticipated until, I would say, the fall timeframe, late fall, because they're the period of time to have the AARP survey open. And so, which is why we're kind of talking about who should be included in these focus groups so that we can have time to make sure that we can actually schedule it and who would be included.
So I have a clarification question also. So the survey data are going to present, and they're going to analyze data from community dwelling elders that live in Los Altos.
Mm-hmm.
And the focus and that data, that's, they're not stakeholders, they're experts, they're every senior that wants to whatever participate.
Correct.
And the focus groups are going to be, I'm just trying to picture it in my mind, partly stakeholders, but also a percentage of each of the 10, let's say, will be stakeholders, and a percentage will also be the community dwelling elders. Do you see it that way?
Yes. So.
I think that's the confusion, like, you know, where do the stakeholders fit in and stuff like that?
No, I think the best example I can give is, our department, Parks and Recreation, did something similar, when we were preparing for the community center to open. We did, a little bit of both, and we worked with a consultant. In that case, it was Blue Point Planning that helped us with that process. Our consultant is Cafe in this instance. But we did a survey to those that had used, you know, had attended an event, had taken a class through us, or had rented a facility from us. In addition to running state focus groups. And in that, who had utilized our facilities. We have general community members, we have nonprofit organizations. I'll use the example of like Little League, who had, you know, used one of our baseball fields, or one of the NJV basketball groups who had used our Egan and Jim block gyms. So we included some of those, just a representative that had utilized, and they were included as a stakeholder in our focus group to say, okay, what type of feedback could you give that we need to change about our programming, use about our facility, or even prepping here for the community center. We had reached out to some families that had utilized our classes. We included some of our seniors that had, you know, had come to our lunches. So each of those focus groups had representation from those different groups to give that feedback. So it is a combination of what both Chris and what you are mentioning, Jane, that we want a wide variety of feedback and not just necessarily. So we included a lot of different groups, but sometimes it was just a representative from Little League, or a representative, maybe someone that is utilized, or could be on the other side, not utilized. Why haven't you come to an event or a class? So it's it could be any number or combination of that.
I have a structure in mind. I just, I'm sorry, that's it.
My understanding of stakeholder is any person or group who will be affected by what the city actually does with the certification.
Yeah, that
So
would
I looked at the groups, and I think you were kind enough to send a copy of this. So caregivers are going to be affected by this. And there's professional and there are family members. Intergenerational types of situations, and the PTA is going to have sandwich generation where they're taking care of elders and taking care of their kids. So that's another area that would be potentially some place to harvest, if you will, some of the people who are in sandwich generation. The idea of the houses of worship, the clergy, often there will be a specific senior section with a pastor or a rabbi, and that's kind of a place where we can get in touch with possible seniors in terms of soliciting them for input and a target for the questionnaire. I think that the houses of worship would be potential helpers in getting this all done, because I know from the place that I go, the senior ministry is active and they're involved in their peer group activities. So that's what I was thinking of, the definition of stakeholder. Not conflating that with a focus group, however, nor conflating that with a team of, I don't want to make it like Abe Lincoln's team of rivals, but that would be another group that, as you mentioned, might have people who don't live in the city limits. And so these are, at least conceptually for me, different issues.
Thank you. I have this thing in my mind, I keep going back to the 8 domains of the age friendly, really moving.
Jane, could you speak up a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I had the structure in mind, thinking about always going back to the age friendly and the 8 domains. And trying to pick some stakeholders, one at least, or maybe more than one, in each of the 8 domains. Let's say we pick one in each of the 8 domains and split them around the focus group. And from them, the web is cast. And then the community of people that come to the focus groups they'll be mixed up. I don't think they should be focused in one domain, but I think the expertise should be in the, I forget the name, the stakeholders. The stakeholders are at a different level than the community dwelling elders. And the survey is going out to the community. I mean, it's going to be advertised in the crier, in whatever, all kinds of ways we're going to get people that might be interested in those. We want to get a broad sense of who is out there, not handpicked by us, really. Although we'll get that data more from the survey, but as far as the focus groups, I don't know, I just think it's a blend of some people with the expertise of at least one of the domains, and then some people in the focus group, they can be all mixed. Anyway, I just thought of some structure for it. What do you think about that?
That the role of Harperstein representatives at each of the commissions that the city has would be part of the task force.
They could
So
be.
that their expertise would be to make sure that we consider those issues that are germane to their commission.
Give us an example of what are the couple of commissions that you're thinking of that would be a stakeholder?
Transportation.
Do we have a commission of transportation?
It's not transportation specific, but that would be most likely the complete streets.
The which,
Complete streets?
Okay.
okay. It's something of
Parks and Rec,
obviously.
We've also done some transportation.
I don't remember all the names of the commissions.
And what we could do, and I think what might be helpful is to, we don't necessarily, I think, have to come up with the individual, but I think the categories would be helpful, because again, even as an example that what we did for our outreach is that we identified groups that we knew we wanted feedback from. And then obviously, depending on when the actual focus group is set up, we may have to work with, the individuals and how, their schedule to come in. But if we identify the groups that we want, so we could list city commissions as one of those categories. And even to the categories that you've already listed out, Bill, in regards to caregivers or families or PTAs, that would definitely help us narrow down who we would need to outreach to get individuals to the focus groups. So I think that if we can, or houses of worship, as you mentioned, I think if we can come up with some additional categories, that will help round out the list to make sure that we can get enough representation. So we can definitely add city commissions to the list. Maybe it is, Bill, you also mentioned, maybe it is assisted living, or, you know, some of those either vendors or places. That is something else that we can add to the list as well.
It seems like we are sliding different roles. And the commissions would be really, the topic is something to be considered. And so someone who is knowledgeable about that, I would see their role as part of the task force. This is a small group of people here in this room. And so I think a larger number of people are going to be needed to make this fly. I know that Cafe will do the heavy lifting, but I would seriously like to hear from people whose perspective is different from mine. So that's why I think the concept of task force, which is different from the focus group. The focus groups are going to be selected partially demographics, partially social needs and so forth. So that kind of representation of these perspectives will be chosen for the focus groups. But upstream from that, I think that as a commission, we could use some more people who, if nothing else, would see something that I can't see or don't see.
I think at one point that Annabelle was explaining that I think we need more I need more clarification about, and that is that she did bring up that we need a task force. And then we talked about stakeholders and then focus groups. So there's it was three distinct things that I was hearing her talk about. So what I'm unclear about is what's the difference between the task group and the stakeholders? Are the stakeholders a part of the task force?
No, great question. And that was going to also be part of one of the updates. So clarification from Annabelle, and even to looking at many cities have handled this update differently. And there, I think, were some, Bridget actually did a survey of some of the local, our neighboring cities that have either gone through this process or are working through this process. There were some instances where the city did not have a senior commission, so a task force was formed. And so in this instance, in talking with Annabelle, obviously this is going to be under my purview and part of my project as the staff liaison to the senior commission. The effort will be coordinated by staff, which I will be at the help for that in coordination with Cafe. And so in this instance, I don't know if necessarily, since we do have the senior commission, And I obviously have, other resources at my disposal within the city as well too. I think in this instance, the task force would not necessarily be something that we need to create separate, because we have the senior commission, which can act as that body to then help, distribute. Then obviously myself in that coordinating role can then work with CAFE directly. And then obviously be here to support the senior commission as well too. So,
Are you suggesting that we identified the senior commission as the officers, if you will, of the task force? And we would invite other people with different areas of expertise to join that?
no, correct. And so we could use the senior commission, because the senior commission does regularly meet. So that could be, and we obviously are a public body that we can invite specifically when we have topics that are items for discussion. That is a way that we can utilize and get some additional feedback from possibly some of the stakeholders that you're, and that could supplement obviously the focus groups, which we are talking about, and then obviously the feedback that we'll get through the survey as well too. So there are definitely some different avenues, but we can use this forum as the senior commission to help supplement that.
So at what point would we be searching for potential task force members who have areas of expertise? Jane and I could talk about health issues, but I don't know beans about the transportation and housing. So where is that in our time frame to do?
So I think it just depends, because there's, within the process, we're talking about different ways of getting feedback. And so there's the survey portion, there will be the focus group portion, and then obviously we have our meetings as well. It could be that transportation is a category that we want to make sure we do get feedback on. Now, whether it's from the user or it is maybe from someone, maybe a company that provides assistance for seniors to get around. But it could be that there's a representative that is at one of the focus groups and they can provide feedback in that manner. So I think it doesn't necessarily have to be in what you're terming task force. And it's not necessarily adding to this body, but it's identifying how we get that information, how we get that feedback. And so it could be that we add transportation to that list, that category list, and we make sure that there is a representative that can give that feedback. Now, whether that is during a discussion at one of our senior commission meetings, or we invite them to one of the focus groups, we want to make sure that we get that feedback captured. And so that could be, or it could be both. You could include them in the focus group, and then we have maybe a discussion item so that we can get additional feedback at a commission meeting that can then be, obviously can be portrayed to CAFE as well, to be taken into consideration.
Jenny, our first element is the survey.
Mhm.
So who's responsible for putting that together and then getting it out? And do we have a time frame for that?
There is, and that's actually, that is going to be in my informational update a little bit later.
Okay.
So it sounds like we have quite a few category additions to the list, that the kind of draft list that Bill had provided and was in the packet. Maybe let's see if there's other areas that we want, or categories that we want to add to that list. Because the more robust that we make that, then we can, at least for myself and CAFE, we can work on that outreach and recruiting specifically in those areas.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
I seem to remember that when I was speaking to Annabelle, that she was looking for the unmet needs of the people who are actually residents. And that is going to be very human specific. And that may be different in the task force, excuse me, in the focus groups than having a city planner join the
Yeah.
focus. And I think that in terms of what I would imagine age-friendly process is going to be looking at the human beings of various constituencies and what isn't working for them.
I think a lot of that data is gonna be drawn from the survey. The AARP survey is
Yes.
extensive. You have a copy of it?
Yeah.
I looked through it, I have a copy. It covers the 8 domains, but every little bit of it. And it's all mixed up and it's very well done. I think that's gonna provide a tremendous amount of raw data, which will be analyzed. And that's the population that we want to serve, that we want to improve their lives in Los Altos. Based on the 8 main domains that they cover, as well as maybe other things too, or as you said earlier, before the meeting actually, you know, it's gonna help us zero in or 3 or 4 areas that we want in the action plan that we want to really work on. And other domains, maybe 2 or whatever, will be covered well. And between the survey data and analysis and the focus groups, including the strategic partners and us, that will augment the raw data of our citizens that need our help, that we perceive might need our help. So that's the way I see it. I mean, I don't think we can, you know, kind of guess at that now, so. I don't know, but the next step is really how to pick the people, so. Because the list is extensive and we have to like boil it down to the essence of the most important things that we need stakeholders in. You know, it's not like specifically, you know, how to get the people, but how to get the expertise that we don't have. Fill in the blank of what we can't provide. And I think you were saying that we're missing people, we're missing 2 people from our commission, yeah.
And strategically too, I think this is having been through a similar, oh, go ahead.
Would you feel comfortable taking off your mask?
Oh, I can speak a little bit louder if that would be helpful. In regards to getting information, that's part of the reason why we're going about it in different ways. Again, the survey, the focus groups, specifically to what you're talking about, which is trying to find the unmet need, you know, knowing you don't know what needs to be improved. And so once we have this list, that is something that we will go over together with CAFE. And obviously they will make their recommendations of, you know, what and maybe who might be good, because they've done this with other agencies as well. And so I think they're definitely looking to the senior commission for ideas and recommendations. Because you were chosen to be here for your enthusiasm to help our senior population here in Los Altos. So I think that is something that we can just work to augment that list. And then absolutely, and then
the big.
exactly.
Kind of can't. would they
Yes.
would be the most beneficial? for us?
Absolutely. So I
That's
think kind of using this as a brainstorming session to make the list and categories as inclusive as possible. That would be helpful so that then we can make sure that the representation is there for getting the feedback that we want. So I think Cafe definitely wants ideas at this point on who and or what groups to include that the senior commission thinks would be beneficial or useful to consider.
Thank you.
That helps, that's very good. The cafe could ultimately.
Absolutely. No, and we're not, and I think that
That's
sometimes,
great. With
absolutely.
this list, it's gonna be hard to figure out.
No, there will definitely be the support of that grouping of expertise that will be overarching for this whole process. It will not be us alone,
Right.
needing to navigate that on our own.
Okay, so if
Chris, can you hear anything?
I can hear you clearly, but I lost the feed from the commission.
Yeah, me too. That's the reason why I'm asking you.
Let's see, I did notice that the screen had kind of froze. We weren't getting a live video for the last minute or so, but
Do you have their numbers?
let me pull up the agenda. I can give, let's see. Let me pull up, yeah, one moment. I'll pull up their contact list. Sorry, I don't have it more handy.
Oh, shoot, I'm trying to see. Oh, I thought Jamie. Let me see if this works. I'll text her. We lost the feed. Chris and I lost the city webinar. Wait, we lost the city, because I see two screens that says Candace and city webinars.
Yeah, let me try calling Candace at her desk. I think Candace is just the account. Let me try, because I know I don't believe Jamie has a mobile phone. Let me try Candace at her desk.
Okay.
I will also check the agenda. Do you happen to know which room they're in?
I had it right here. Hang on. Oh, shoot. the Orchard Room.
Okay, perfect. I'll call their main line and I'll call their front, just the front desk at the.
Wait. Oh, sorry, not the Orchard Room. What is the one in the front? Wait, hang on. The Sequoia Room. Sequoia
Cool.
Room?
That sounds good. I know for sure it's not the Manzanita room, which is the other room in the lobby. Sequoia sounds right. Give me just a second. I'll call the community center.
Yeah, because it doesn't even say what room it is at. Oh, yeah, it is the Sequoia Room. Oh, it's coming back on. I think. No, maybe not. Wait.
It did. For some reason, that did not. No, we're okay. Yes.
So I have to go look at my email from Jim Basigi, because I think he said he wouldn't leave the committee in the lurch.
Right.
But
He was anticipating or hoping for.
Yeah.
for more.
So you would try to look for two people and then you could, yeah, okay, that'd be great. Do you know what your timeline is when the interviews would be or anything?
I do not know that. Yeah, I think the advertising is underway. I can take a look here.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, we'd love to have new people in. So that'd be great.
If you could let
Let
us
us know or let Jamie know. She could let us know. That'd be
Yes,
wonderful.
I will share one thing and I apologize. For some reason, the Zoom TV stopped. So had to re-engage that. So we're all set there. So I apologize for that. But in regards to, the makeup of this commission, I have been in contact with Deborah Padovan, who's the city clerk in Los Altos Hills. So slightly different in Los Altos Hills, there are not term limits. So Deborah's currently reaching out to Jim because technically his last term ended in June. And so if he wants to be reappointed, he can. But as Councilmember Tyson mentioned, they have started a recruitment for the existing vacancies, not just in the senior commission, but I think others as well. And so she is going to keep me updated as far as how that progresses. But theoretically, hopefully it'll just be one if Jim is still interested in continuing, because there are no term limits. But he would have to be reappointed to a new term if he would like to be. So.
And so let me add to that, Deborah has an ad running in the town fire already. And if she doesn't have anyone who applies by August 10th, she will take Jim's reappointment to the council for our August meeting. If we do get an application or two, you could always resign before your term is up. So then the discussion of possible people. It sounds like Jim's amenable to that.
Awesome.
Quick question, George. You are looking to replace two vacancies for Los Altos Hills, or have you reduced it to one?
I would say it's at least one, and then Jim, I think, is willing to be reappointed, although if somebody showed up, we would accept us on it. So I don't know, I call that one or two.
Okay, great. Just curious. Okay, thank you.
Kind of like an invitation evaluation says +1.
Yeah.
Okay, you ready to move on? Informational items, age-friendly. Report from the city staff.
Yeah, so I did include, and the report is kind of a running tally of where we have been, but I think the most important information to note here is that our application to set up the AARP survey has been submitted. I am just waiting for the AARP staff to provide the link so that we can then advertise it. I've also met with the city's public information team so that once we do get the live link, we will be able to communicate that to the community to let them know that we are looking for feedback through the survey. And so once that is live, we'll absolutely share that with the commission and obviously send it out so that you can share it with your friends, neighbors, networks, so that we can get as much feedback as possible. So again, just I've been a squeaky wheel, but unfortunately, just vacations, that kind of thing, there's been just a little bit of a delay, but just waiting for the live link so that we can start the community outreach portion of it.
That's why I've looked at the stakeholders.
Yeah.
As to, these are people that I would, or other people would contact to know about the survey.
Absolutely. The other, on a side note, which I will share, our department works quite often with various community-based organizations. In one of my most recent meetings with the Los Altos Rotary, they actually mentioned that this is definitely of interest. So once the link is live, if one of the senior commissioners, they said they recommended and invited someone to just speak briefly at one of their lunches and say, hey, we're doing this outreach opportunity. We'd love to get your feedback via the survey. They were very interested in that opportunity. So that's just one example of a way that we can increase awareness and get feedback. I'm sure there's a number of other places, and obviously we will, on the city side, will work with our public information team to get that information out into the community so that they know that the survey is live, and we would like that feedback.
Are you looking for a speakers bureau for these different organizations?
Eventually, yes, but well, the first step will be to get that link first. And so I'll continue to get that, be the squeaky wheel so that we get that link as soon as possible. And yeah, so however, looks like we have other comments, and then Councilmember Lee has her hand raised as well. Yes, however you would like to handle that, Chair Cohen.
Any other comments? I have a couple.
Couple things I want to say. Could we get flyers made so we can distribute them all around town? And
Absolutely.
That would be great. The other thing is we have to make arrangements for paper,
and so there's going to be some people that cannot
Correct.
so that has to be done.
simultaneously.
And that is something that, when meeting with Annabelle,
Okay.
that is something that, and even when I met virtually with the AARP representatives, that's actually something that they recommended because there are some that are very comfortable with technology answering a survey. There are some that is going to be a barrier. So they did recommend to have it printed out. Some individuals can fill it out via paper, and then that would just need to be translated. So a staff member or volunteer can then enter that survey because that's how it'll be actually analyzed. Yes. And then, did you want to take Councilmember Lee's question? Councilmember Lee's question.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I was just curious, when you say the AARP link, mainly we want the input from Los Altos and Los Altos Hills. I would be concerned if it's going broader than our cities. So how are we maintaining control of that?
So in the survey, that is, we can add a question about what your current zip code of residence is. And so that will be able to filter out, and the link would only be specific to Los Altos. It would not be necessarily, it would be listed as the Los Altos survey. So it would be specific to our community. And then there would be a specific question. And so we would specifically be looking for either the 94022 or the 94024 zip code.
Correct. Okay, thank you. That's my concern.
Thank you, Lynette, for asking that. Okay. Jamie, you have more in your report?
No, that is it. So I will keep the commission updated as to when that link is available. And then again, I've already talked to our PIO team in regards to how that community outreach at least will initially be started so that we can get as much feedback as possible.
And the duration of the exposure?
CAFE recommends 12 weeks. So the AARP representatives that I spoke to, it does depend. They usually recommended a minimum of 8 weeks, with going up to 12 weeks, which is what CAFE recommends. But it also depends, and there is flexibility. So let's say that we get inundated with feedback. We could potentially look at shortening it, or if by the 12 weeks, we still have a really small sample size. AARP said that there is the flexibility that we can always extend it to make sure we get the sample size that we want. So when I met with them, they said that there is flexibility, but again, we're anticipating what CAFE recommended, which is the 12 weeks.
Station is determining the number of people needed.
Sample size.
Correct. And that would be based upon our community size.
Thank you, Jamie. Okay. Oh, the next thing is, am I off here, number 5, Los Altos Commission updates?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. This is one addition, and this is just information. So there have been a number of changes which I've shared with the commission, and we're remaining similar. The main updates, and you'll notice in what's included in your packet, is the update to the verbiage for the ordinance, which creates the commissions themselves and what each commission is tasked with. And so this was approved through City Council already. We're going to remain the same. So we are going to be a 7-member body. Sorry, I mixed up the words there. 7-member body with 5 from Los Altos and 2 from Los Altos Hills. And we will still meet monthly on a regular basis, but one update through the ordinance is that we will not have regularly scheduled meetings for the month of July and the month of December. So within the calendar year, we will have 10 regularly scheduled meetings. Now, special meetings can obviously be set up if there is a need or there is something that the commission needs to discuss. But we will not have a regularly scheduled meeting in July. And if you're questioning, we're in July, we're having a meeting. When the ordinance was passed, it does not go into effect until 30 days after. So we are before that. So that's why we are having this, but it is a special meeting anyway. So next year, we will technically not have a regular meeting for July. But those are some of the changes that I wanted to highlight. But this just gives you the background of what changes in the ordinance have occurred. The only other additional that I wanted to share in this part is that the commission handbook is actually going to be updated And that will actually be discussed tomorrow night at the July 11th City Council meeting. And then anticipated, it looks like they're going to be holding a study session possibly in late August. That is still a tentative date, but they're going to be discussing or having a discussion around subcommittees, and then also conflicts of interest, how that will work as well too. So because many of our commissions and commissioners wear many hats within the community, and so I think there is going to be a slightly larger discussion in a study session capacity anticipated for the end of August. That is everything, just information. But again, for us, not a whole lot is changing, with the exception of changing meetings for July and December. Any questions?
The next item are the flyers. The information flyers.
All right. So I will go ahead and kick us off, and then Bridget and I will share, and then I will turn it over to Chris in Los Altos Hills. But the first one that I will, that's listed in your packet is, scroll at least where it is. First one is our summer concerts. We're actually halfway through, and a big kudos to Bridget and her team. Actually exciting, the next one will be this Thursday, and it'll be right here on the Hillview soccer field. It will be Mercy and the Heartbeats. It starts at 6:30 and will go to 8. We have two additional, July 20th and July 27th. July 20th will be the one at Grant Park, and then we will end the summer concert series here at Hillview Park on the 27th. Also highlighting Redwood Grove Summer Camp. We still have many weeks of program all the way through August 4th. So if you have or know anyone that might be interested, that program is still available for signing up if you have family members that might want to attend. We also have our Tiny Tots play school and kinder prep that will actually be starting after Labor Day this year. And so if you have families that might be interested, it is a preschool age program out here at San Antonio Club and here at the community center. And then we are hiring interested individuals that are now working with teens. We're looking for a part-time staff member to help with that program and drop in hours here at the Juniper Room. Additional information is listed in the flyer. So if you know of anyone that might be interested, please share the flyer or encourage them to apply. And then generally speaking, we still have ongoing recruitments for our facility attendant position, preschool teachers, a recreation leader too for our adult 50+ program. This one's slightly outdated because we do already have our director positions for our camps filled, but and then continuation of our family fun days. That will be in August, October, and December. The one in August has an animal adventure theme. October, because of Halloween, it's Halloween Hoopla. And then December will be Winter Wonderland. Again, these are completely free here at the community center between the 10 and 1 time frame. And then with that, I'll turn it over to Bridget for additional updates and adult 50+ updates.
Sure. So just a few more items, just to let you know, I know many of you have been curious about recruitment for the adult 50+ recreation coordinator. We've held interviews, and now we're just going through the process of background checks. So we will continue to keep you posted on that front, but just wanted to give you an update. July 11th, we have the Santa Clara County Fire Be Ready, Be Prepared for Disasters. That's virtual, and that's going to be presented by Gracie Hernandez at 10 a.m. July 12th, the ice cream social at Grant Park will be taking place at 12 p.m. July 13th is the meetup in the Woodside Folger Estate Stable Historic District Tour, and then there will also be a no-host lunch at Buck's Restaurant. And this is a members-only activity from 9:30 to 1:30. Then we have July 20th, the ice cream social will be taking place at Lacey at 12 p.m. And also, don't forget to check out, we have several other daily activities that happen in our updated spotlight that is for the months of July and August. So definitely take a look at that for day-to-day activities. But that is what we have right now.
Thank you. That's it.
All right, and then with that, I will go ahead and turn it over to Chris in Los Altos Hills.
Good afternoon, Commission. Los Altos Hills has several informational flyers. I will go through them in the order on the agenda. Los Altos Hills Pathways maps are available at Town Hall. They're also available for online purchase. As many of you may know, the Pathways map system trail map has been updated, was updated earlier this year. So feel free to stop by to pick up a map. There are only $5. The next item I see is the butterfly pocket guide, which was created by a resident in Los Altos Hills. It's exactly that, a pocket guide that you can print and fold, and it'll be a field manual to the many butterflies you may encounter in Los Altos Hills this summer. Next up, I see our senior-friendly Pathways Walk. This ongoing monthly program is held a little earlier in the summer to avoid some of the peak morning heat, late morning heat. It leaves the Parks and Recreation Building 9:15 on the last Thursday of each month. And it's designed to be senior friendly, but all ages are welcome to attend. Next up, I see the Rec RX program, which is kind of a promotional tool that the department uses to match make programs and activities and events that might be of interest, depending on what interests you've indicated on the intake form. So it's a bit of a recreation matchmaking service that we offer in the town. The next item I see is the movie night. If you're driving throughout town, you will see these banners installed on the town signposts. Something I do myself, which I somewhat enjoy, installing the banners. But dinner and a movie, it'll be held Friday, August 4th at Purisima Park, and it's co-hosted by the Los Altos Hills Youth Commission. There'll be food, snacks, and the youth commissioners will be having a popcorn and a hot cocoa bar for guests. The next item I see is a fee-based program, fee-based rec. It's a traveling safari. Python Ron, activity provider, is coming to Purisima Park, and he'll be bringing his reptile safari for show. And finally, the annual Los Altos Hills versus Los Altos adult softball game. The Gleaming Gold Glove, I'm looking at the flyer right now, is up for grabs. The winning team will bring it home to their respective city or town. And the event, last time I checked, the teams are full. Both the captains have the teams, but we're still very much interested in having spectators to join the event. So with that, that concludes the flyers I have.
And then Councilmember Lee has her hand raised.
I just wanted to share that we're reviving the bridge group at Grant Park. So the next bridge gathering is July 19th. So please let anyone you know who plays bridge, beginners or advanced, to come to the Grant Park senior program. And then also on July 26th, we have Los Altos Police Department Sergeant Steve Spillman coming to give us a talk about the various scams and the increase of crimes that are affecting our senior community. So once again, that's 11 a.m. on July 26th. And then on August 2nd, we have the Los Altos History Museum and also a talk by Doctors Elizabeth Ward and Dr. Jane Packard, also speaking about the Los Altos Heritage Orchard as well, and that will occur at 11 a.m. on August 2nd. So both of those events are at Grant Park Senior Program. Thank you.
Moving on to commission, subcommittee, sample reports. Are there any subcommittee reports today? No reports today.
So staff reports. I have just a few updates. First is to let everyone know that the pickleball ribbon cutting went extremely well. We held that in mid-June. I believe on June 14th. We had about 50 to 60 individuals and enthusiasts. Now that's to me fairly decent, given that it was kind of a midday. We did it on Wednesday at roughly around 2 o'clock, and our full Los Altos City Council was there out at Mackenzie. So that went really well. And the last Family Fun Day that we had in June also went very well. We had roughly 450 to 500 in attendance over the course of the day. So we're anticipating that they will continue to be very popular in the upcoming, the 3 that we have in August, October, and December. Summer concerts continue to go well. We roughly have 450 to 550 of individuals coming out. The team has been doing wonderfully, and they've been really well received. It's been several years since we've had this. We had one in August last year, but prior to that, the last one we had was in June, July, August of 2019.
Yeah.
So it was in a little bit of a hiatus, so we're excited to bring that opportunity back. Glorious Fourth went really well. Chris was out there volunteering. Thank you very much for doing that. But we had well over 1,000 people come throughout the day. This was down at Shout Park. So very excited. Again, the last one we did was in 2019. So I think the community was excited to see some of these well-loved events come back. Summer registration is absolutely open. So if you are interested in signing up for anything new and exciting and you have some time, definitely do that as well. But that is everything for my staff report.
Okay, thank you. Does Los Altos Hills have any more report, Chris? Do you have another report?
No, aside from the flyers, that's all I was planning to share today. But happy to take any questions as or supplement anything that may be of interest.
Anybody have any questions? I don't think so. Thank you so much. Well, I think we've been through the agenda.
So we have a future agenda.
Future.
Yep.
A couple of ideas too. What would you like to put on for next meeting?
Friendly, it's just automatically.
Friendly is just a rolling, yeah. right.
Yeah.
And I think work plan is also rolling. Oh, I had something that I wanted to talk with you about. You know, I think this is just my opinion. I'd like to hear what you have to maybe say about what you think about it. And that is, I feel like it's been so long since we've reviewed the domains that they're kind of a little bit foggy for me. And I was just wondering whether you think we, in order to keep our knowledge up, and now that things are going to roll out shortly, that we go back to the domains and give small reports, not next meeting, but in a timely manner, just so that we're up to date on what we're talking about here. What do you think about that? Did you save your notes from the first report that you gave? Do you remember your domain? Well, your domain is a subcommittee, basically. Yeah.
Well, I think that's a really important thing because it has been a long time since we've really talked about the nuts and bolts of what each domain encompasses. So if we went and reviewed them, I don't think it'd be any harm.
Go ahead.
And timing wise, given that it's summer, maybe we can target the September meeting, so that it gives each of the subcommittees time to take a look at the highlights, of each of that. And so maybe we can plan to have that, as a review for September.
And Jamie, maybe it might be helpful if you just send out an email to all of us and say, don't forget, you're responsible for your domain to come up with some sort of a description.
Absolutely, and we will have this as a future agenda item, so it will be on the list, for our August meeting, and then that will absolutely help lead into, September.
Information.
Exactly,
That'd be
and
great.
the other part too is that we can resend the link to the WHO document, which outlines all of the domains. So we can do that in prep for just doing an overall review for September.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's all I got. Does anybody have anything else they want to add? Oh, Lynette, do you have?
Yeah,
Council?
I just wanted to ask, and perhaps you want to discuss it in the future, is two things. A senior fair, are we ever going to go back to having senior informational fair, like you bring vendors that help people understand what programs or what senior living facilities are available, so people can come and learn about ARPA and learn about AAPA, I mean, other programs that are in the neighborhood that they can get information from, because there are a lot of senior housing, not either housing or as well as programs that would benefit seniors. And I think in the past, we used to host one, and I don't know if we want to talk about doing that again in the future. Then the other thing was, if we're going to start up Spring Fling, is that something that the Senior Commission hosted in the past? And I know we always had the Spring Fling. And so I was wondering if that is going to be something you want to discuss and possibly plan for again.
Thank you very much. You can add those.
Yep, we can definitely add those for future discussion.
Great, thank you for the suggestion. Okay, I think it's time to adjourn. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Councilwoman, and Chris, thanks for coming today. And
Thank you
to
all.
of you. Thank you all for coming. George, thank you.
And Jane, good job.